Hello. Today I would like to say a few words about breaking the patterns. Why would you want to break really anything? Especially in yoga, one think of unifying and bringing things together, to joke, to unify. However, when I say breaking the patterns, then I'm thinking actually about transformation. There is no really any other way to leave something behind and walk away from a certain, let's say, bad habits or um, situations where we feel we got stuck, or relationships. So what is in between that feeling of getting stuck and the feeling of being new and free is this period of transformation. Well, that's not easy. And in the history of humanity, I mean, there is so many things people have done to break free. Everything from self-torture, fasting, different practices, religious practices, spiritual practices, desert walking, pilgrims, everything has been tried and tested so far. And actually, all of those practices are trying one thing, to do something different. And in terms of how to do it, I think the best is to start with a small thing and practice on the small thing and then apply it to bigger things in life. Let's say you practice breaking the bad habit that you are struggling with on everyday basis. So what do? Let's say if you are not a morning person and you would like to be a morning person because you're going to seize the day in a different way. You're going to feel more energized by being more tuned with the rhythm of the nature. So what do? Breaking the pattern is not necessarily that you apply very strict discipline and then deal with the feeling of the guilt, but maybe you have to work with paradoxes. Paradoxes is to do something unexpected for your system, for your brain, to do something unexpected for yourself, and to actually disrupt the current system. What could be the paradox? For example, instead of getting up early and like apply hard discipline, start with Ashtanga yoga 5 o'clock in the morning, maybe do something more crazy than that. It could be just decide to lay down in the bed all day long. So this is something that system is not expecting. Or taking the ice cold shower. This is also something that system is not expecting. Or put the music in the morning and start to dance. So anything that the system is not expecting could work and will work, because it will disrupt and it will give that little space for the change. The same is in, for example, relationships. You are probably repeating a certain patterns in relationships, in intimate relationships or family relationships, work relationships. You can probably see the red thread over the years that something is done in a particular way and that you are repeating yourself. You're having these deja vus of the same feeling in the system, while the scenery is different, the landscapes could be different, but there's the same feeling, oh, I'm in that space again. the space of pain, or the space of disappointment, or in the space of unease or restlessness in the body. So what do you do? For example, if you actually have that opportunity, so every time the same situation or the same feeling comes to you, it's a great opportunity to say, aha, now I'm going to surprise you. So this element of surprise, it can work. So let's say you are in the same feeling of, let's say, disappointment. You're disappointed in someone, or your expectations haven't been met. And then there is nothing you can do about the situation, probably, or about the relationship or other person. You can't change the circumstances necessarily, or the people that you are dealing with. But what you can change is to surprise yourself with the way of reacting, and say to yourself, okay, I'm going to practice. Now you can choose. It depends on your previous patterns. If you usually are, for example, angry and outgoing, you're outgoing, reacting, maybe you can tell to yourself, okay, now I'm going to practice compassion. So when I meet this circumstance, or I am in the middle of this circumstance, I'm not going to react as I usually do. I'm just going to test it for day 2, 3, or 4. And then I can react the way I'm used to. And that works for me to release the frustration. And see what happens. Because you are surprising actually yourself. Or if you are a person who goes away or avoid conflicts or avoid unease in situations, then you practice opposite. Now I'm going to stay, I'm going to say my word no matter what, or I'm going to be angry, or I'm going to do something that I never would thought of doing. Okay? So you don't have to go in the extremes, of course. I wouldn't recommend that. Start easy. So you are very close to your comfort zone, so you can come back very quickly if you don't feel safe anymore. Because the moment you're stepping out of the comfort zone, you are in the danger field, because the world will be responding to you in a very different way than what you're used to. You might be surprised. I remember in one situation where I was always kind and gentle and very yogi to certain people or to certain person. I tested and I reacted in a very, very even rude way, just to see, or just to surprise myself, because you're not so interested how the response is going to be. It is more like stepping out of your way of reacting, just to surprise your system and just to play a little bit with these paradoxes. And the response on the other end was amazing. Actually, the response of the same person who would usually be the one dominating, the moment I raised up and became this Kali, this Durga, what they would call in Indian philosophy, this crazy energy, the response was calmness, more control, even humbleness. I don't say it's going to work that way in every situation, and don't think that this is the recipe. If I react in certain way, this is going to be response. It depends on the dynamics that you have developed. So you're actually challenging the dynamics that have been existing over the time by introducing a paradox or a certain different way of handling things. And it's not easy because you're coming out of the comfort zone. And again, I repeat, you don't have to go into the extremes. You can step out just 1 or 2 steps out of the comfort zone into the unknown ways of reacting, and see what happens. Most of all, what happens within yourself. How do you feel? Have you gained more peace? That's the basic question, because you want to come back into the balance. So coming back into the balance is the first step. And then the next step, allowing that balance to work for you so you can transform. So you don't go back into the existing old patterns that don't serve you anymore. So it's a very playful thing, and don't expect the world to understand, because you will be doing things that people don't expect from you. And that's not going to be very welcomed, because people like consistency in your personality and the way of reacting and the way of responding. So expect surprises from your own way of dealing with things and reactions, and also from the surroundings. And expect different certain circumstances to appear. Usually this is the way how the truth comes out, because once we are in a certain pattern and we are repeating it, we are also not able to see the full of the totality of the context, but we are also bonded just to the fragments of the picture that we are able to see. The moment you are dealing with the paradoxes and you are expressing them, that's the moment you start to see the totality of the situations. I remember once I recommended, there was a person who was coming for coaching, and that person was very, let's say, straight and controlled, and had everything under control, because that was a good way to also contain the emotions. So my recommendation to that person is to do every day something crazy. Crazy in terms of surprising oneself. They dancing naked on the balcony in the middle of the moonshine, full moon night. That was not the thing for that person. And no, that was a no, immediate reaction. That was too alternative, that was too wild and crazy, and not that person. So I invite to something else that was maybe a little bit closer to the comfort zone, just to do lion pose in the few times in the middle of the day, just to relax the facial muscles who have been also tensed during this self-control need. So you have to explore how far you want to go, and then stretch a little bit and little bit and little bit. The point is, surprise yourself. In that way, you also invite playfulness in your own life. You invite more of a broader context and more truth to follow you in your life. Be prepared to be surprised by new circumstances, new unfoldments of the situation. Be surprised how easy it is actually to come out of the patterns and break free from the patterns, and actually enjoy the ride. It's really exciting. It's not that hard as we think. When you say to yourself, oh, I got stuck, there is nothing I can do. This is a good moment to start to practice, to break the patterns and use paradoxes as a great tool to do the opposite of what you expect from yourself and what others would expect from you. Thank you.